balance of putting out content that makes you look like home decor and all that. Plus you have to look at your metrics, because the amazing thing about Pinterest is Pinterest links out. They see a great picture, they click, and now they're on your website. But where are you sending those photos? Are you sending them to your general web page, or are you sending them to a Pinterest-specific landing page that makes them convert right away? So there's a lot of strategy of where you're sending the traffic out of Pinterest, because yeah, they saw your picture, now it just goes to your overall homepage. That looks boring. They see you, I'm not in the market for a home, they're out. But maybe you can do, you see where I'm going?
Yeah, we don't have any kind of Pinterest strategy at all, but I think we have a lot of really good content.
You saw my reaction, right? Without, like, all I heard was one sentence. You are sitting with gold, and you need to fucking figure out your Pinterest strategy. Cool.
Now, hi, I'd like to know what...
What's your name?
Serena from Calabasas. Hi, I'd like to know what telephone you use.
iPhone 6 Plus.
Yes.
iPhone 6 Plus. And also, for when you're doing all the different media, social media sites, do you recommend Hootsuite? I mean, it's such a pain to go from each one, write something here, write something there. What do you use?
So that's my whole, that was where I kind of went rogue against the market 36 months ago, and have been proven out to be right once again. Everything is about context.
Yes.
A woman on Pinterest, right? As we know, how many people on Pinterest in here? Awesome, big ups to the dudes that raised their hands. It's 94% female, but outside the US, it's actually very close to 50-50. You know, a woman's psychology when she's going through Pinterest is very window shopping 2.0, aspiration to buy, right? When she's going through her Facebook, she's really kind of keeping up with her world, her friends, her high school friends. When she's on Twitter, she's probably following people that are providing her news, quirkiness. So the psychology in all of those platforms are different. Thus, we as businesses have to feed them something different. So everybody wants to use Hootsuite and blast the same message, but the message is going to resonate so differently. And when you're putting out bad content, you're better off putting no content, right? And so you're creating scale. And my friends, the number one thing that everybody focuses on is width. In a world where all the money in the world is made on depth, right? And so that's all the behavior I'm talking about. Let's have 47 employees, but we won't treat any of them great and they'll just turn. Whereas let's have 12 and make them stick forever and make a lot more money that way. And it feels good, by the way. So I wouldn't recommend any tool because you don't need it. You're not at that scale. Hootsuite's made for, they've done a great job, and I know Ryan, and I passed on an investment, it breaks my heart. But they've done a good job convincing the market they need it, but nobody in this room is big enough to actually need it. They have the 17 minutes that it takes to go to 3 platforms to put their picture. You know, like, so that's the thing. Cool. Hey, man.
Hi, David Mull, New York City.
New York City?
Yes, sir.
Love it.
Rego Park.
Rego Park is where,
Yeah. Wine business, baseball cards.
Are we kinship?
I think so, but I'm going to answer the question.
Yes, sir.
I, too, like to leverage my money.
Good.
What companies should we be looking at or watching that are on the cutting edge, like the Oculus, post-production?
In the private sector, like, or
in the public sector.
Netflix.
Really?
Really.
You and Mark Cuban.
Mark's got a lot of money.
Okay.
Netflix is grossly underpriced.
Gotcha.
They've won already. The market hasn't accepted it yet, but they've won.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Go make some money. I expect an email. Thank you. By the way, my friend, Netflix, back to not trusting Wall Street for shit. I have no idea what Netflix does over the next 12 months in the market. It can be down, and it can be like, fuck that guy. But in 24 to 36 months, outside of economic, collapse or things of that nature, that company wins big. I don't think Apple's going to be able to afford to buy it. That's how big it'll be. It's going to be a huge company. It's going to be, meaning, when I say afford, meaning it won't be strategic. They can afford it. They got a lot of money. It just won't be strategic. The price will be too high. They'll probably make a decision of like, let's do it ourselves, or they'll succumb to what Beats did. I think Google should buy Netflix. Google, has a lot of infrastructure rationale to buy Netflix, but that board and that CEO, like, I think it's so early in that game. It's all this over the top stuff. It's over, right? And Google's got balloons in the air that are going to give us free Wi-Fi soon. Like, people are underestimating the chess moves. We are grossly guys. everything we know right now is
goodbye
only
right
10
now.
years old. You know what technology is coming
Look
over
at
the
the
next
chart,
10 years? You're not even going to understand what's going on.
Look at that.
It's, I mean, and everybody does the same thing. It's scary, right? Like we all push against it, but it's just evolution. Drop a caveman in here right now. You're like, what the fuck? it's just starting. Next question. I'm sure. I think my uncle. Hey.
Hi, so I'm Ken from Northern Virginia.
How are you?
Good, thank you. You have talked about two things being the most important role, and everything we've talked about has been more marketing and innovation. The other side is that you mentioned.
And by the way, can I just say something? I adore you, and I've been sitting here watching how the first 9 questions are on that, and nobody wants to tackle the thing that I think matters the most.
Right, so the human infrastructure.
Yes.
You made a comment that you said was that behavior breeds results.
Yes.
So in our recruiting and talking about teams and team development, I think this is very, very important because what I've noticed, and I did raise my hand about people coming to work with me and leaving, and those people that left did fail. But I think they say, well, why? That's a fact. And so they
It's a stickler, I like this.
so they say, well, you know, why do I want to come with you? Your brand, it leads. Then they come and work with you, you make them successful, and we start running into loyalty and greed, right? So what can you share with us to help us in our industry, what we should focus on, how do we keep them from the greed, loyalty, and how we want to...
I think it's a great question. I want you to keep the mic because I think you have some insights that will help me read through this a little bit. So I thought it was interesting that, you know, it's so funny. I'm the same way. Like, the second somebody leaves, like Rex Ryan, I want to stab him in the face with a fucking knife. Because I'm a diehard Jets fan, and now he's the coach of the Bills, and he's my sworn enemy, and that's just the way it is, and that's the way it is. And I'm the same way. In business, like, I literally will, like, walk, I will carry you home to your apartment if you're on my team. The next day, if you say you're going to a competitor, I literally want to chop your leg off and feed it to you, right? I'm just telling you the action. So when you threw in that little jab, I was like, oh, that's my girl. I get it. So I'm the same way. Now, here's the question. A couple things. I'm going to ask you a series of questions because it's going to matter for everybody. Have you ever taken anybody back when they've gone on their own and come back? And there's no right answer, and I want you to tell me the truth. So don't think I'm leading you anyway.
No.
Okay. Has anybody ever asked to come back after they've gone out and failed?
No.
Okay. So that's my biggest issue, right? Like what's happening in my world right now is so many of my kids came straight out of college that they didn't contextually know how good they had it, right? And then they went and they're asked to come back, and I don't want to do that because then it's in the best interest of everybody to leave if you can come back, right? And that becomes a vulnerability. And we've done it once or twice now because it was in the best interest of the short-term need that I had, even though it's against everything I just told. And it's a really interesting friction point because sometimes you have to make decisions for the short term, sometimes you're long. And I think I have an overall culture that's protecting me, but if I do it a couple more times, you know, I've only done it twice, but after the first one, I'm like, I'll never do it. And then I broke my own rule because I had a short-term need. And trust me, I went to sleep that night, I'm like, I hope I didn't fuck up my long-term need. Like, you know, it's a whole thing. So a couple things. The number one thing I think you should do, and the best way you can keep everybody, and what will take the majority of the people in this room away from hiring C's and D's and get into the A and B business. And I promise you, bless you, promise you, this is a very basic statement. If people are working for you, by nature, they're not an A. Or they're an A, and their parents did a bad job and taught them to be a B. Got it? Yeah. So, most of us in this room, depending on the size of our business, are hiring C's and D's and E's because what we know is that continuity has value to us, right? It's just the way it is. And I did this with Wine Library, and what I'm doing differently with Vaynerchuk is very interesting, which is this. The only way to keep people of that quality is you have to act differently with them than others, right? There's a reason the star quarterback gets treated differently than a commodity offensive lineman that's average. It's just the way it is. You don't like it? Too bad. It's meritocracy, right? So what I would do, how many people do you have working for you?
4.
Great. Meaning, you need to know everything that makes those 4 people tick, and you need to know in real time. Right? Like, I have kids right now who want to make $250,000 a year, they don't care about anything else, and they're warriors, and that's what they want. Because they haven't fallen in love yet, right? And then, because they haven't had a child yet, right? Because they haven't had a tragedy yet. Like, I'm building an infrastructure in a company that's not only trying to scratch their itch at this second, but I'm trying to anticipate the itch that I need to scratch with all those things that I just talked about. And so I think it's down-home, hardcore behavior of actually caring. Like, you know, how often are you taking those 4 out to eat one by one and actually asking them what they care about? Are they driven more by the money, or do they love you and they're cozy? Are they comfortable, right? Are they comfortable? Is their comfort actually a negative to you, right? Because they're not bringing in any more opportunity. Like, all these things need to be talked about. I just did a reset at Wine Library. I've been out of business for 4 years. I came back. These are all my people. They're all very different now. They're not 25 anymore. They've had 3 years of dad, so they're looking at the world a little bit differently, unfortunately, right? And I've had a really just reset. And they're like, yeah, they're excited I'm back in a little bit. And I'm like, look, it's great that I'm back in, but you need to understand this isn't 6 years ago. And like, everything you've done up to this point, I have a sense of loyalty, which is why I would never fire you. But you have no upside if you're not bringing value, and you've gotten slow and lazy and content and all these things. Or what I said to them was, my dad and I haven't done a good enough job to position you to be faster and better. So what can I do to make you faster and better? Which is what I ask all my people, like, what am I doing wrong? And I'm pumped when they come up with some bullshit. I'm like, that's some bullshit, Jeffrey. Blah, 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 right? So like, I'm willing to have that conversation, but I literally spend 40% of my time, which is the single asset I give a shit about in the world, in talking to entry level to the CFO about what they care about. In a world where you have 4, you have no excuse. You have unlimited amount of time by comparison of the volume of people you have to build them up. And then for you guys to sit back and be like, all right, we just talked to Karen. You know, she's really checked out. She doesn't care anymore. This is probably not good for our business. Let's keep her, because there's really, as a net ROI, there's nothing horrible here. She's not dragging anybody else down. That's what you always want to look for. You know, even though it might be content and positive ROI, overall she might be dragging everybody else down. But she's not. She's lovely. But we need a 5th person, because we need to be getting on the offense. We need somebody who's got fire, who wants it. And we're going to treat her different, or him different. And when Karen comes to us and says, what the hell? Why'd you let Ricky take a 3-week vacation? Because he sold 40 fucking homes, Karen. Right? And so that's what I think, right? And I have those conversations, because Karen, you want to go to softball with your daughters at 3 o'clock every Thursday, and Ricky's fucking selling homes till 2 in the morning, and I have to run a business here. These are just real conversations. You can't judge them. You can't judge them on their behavior or their ambition. If they wanted to be you, they wouldn't work for you. So you can't judge them on that. You just have to judge them on what they say they want, and does their behavior match that? And you get to be the judge and the jury of that, and you should be winning that with positivity and honey, not vinegar.
Yeah.
All right. That's great.
Hi, Gary. I am Heather Wright from Des Moines, Iowa. My question is also building on the human infrastructure. So you said that it was a smart idea to divide it into 2 groups, where your infrastructure today and then infrastructure in 24 months, and how to leverage it for the future. So I'd like some more information on that, because, well, I have no idea what you mean, but if I look at my, like, I have 3 people today.
You have 3 people today?
Yes, and so leveraging it for the future, does that mean, like, you know, I have several more roles that will need to be filled with the growth that I project, because I'm probably not going to sell my business in 18 months' time, sorry. But, so does that mean that I need to get those people sooner rather than later, or what do you mean by that?
There's a lot of things. So what are they doing for you?
Well, I have a full-time buyer agent who
Yep.
works with buyers. I have an assistant, and then I also have a hybrid agent who's my brother.
Awesome.
And he works with buyers. He's a showing assistant. He does anything that I need him to do, and it makes his life better, and mine. So,
Lovely.
you know, at some point we'll probably need a telemarketer. We'll probably, I'm thinking maybe a marketing coordinator very soon.
Do you think if you had those 2 people, you'd do more business?
Probably. I'd have to.
Well, that's not the right answer. Do you think if you had those 2 people, you would do more business? Right now, if those 2 people existed, does it tell you, based on everything that's going on in your business, that you're gonna,
Yeah.
then they should be there right now? Or one of them? Based on the appetite of what your expenses are and what makes you happy day to day. So what my point of that question is when people say they have to, that means you're filling into an expense bad. The question is, are you in a place where you're losing out on more money because there's not an expense there to capture more of that business? If that exists, then you only have one other question. Are you willing for the short term to make a little less money that allows you to have whatever you need? You may have student loans, debts, other things, I don't know, right? You have a P&L that you have to do to like live your life. Then there's a second part, the fun stuff. What are you doing with that money? Does it make you feel? My dad was very conservative because he needed to have cash in the bank. It just made him feel better. He could go to sleep, and that's fine. That's immigrant, right? When you come from zero, that makes sense. You know, what do you want? Like, some people, listen, I've started spending a lot more money in my life as I've hit this age because I want to have bigger and better applications because the experiences with my kids at this age matter to me. So I'm not taking those dollars and investing them in Uber and Twitter. I'm investing them in what matters to me right now. But when you're in the early stages of a business, and if you want that business to be successful, and you came with a little bravado saying, sorry, Tom, I'm not selling it in 18 months, that means you're building long term. If you think that overhead brings you more business right now, then that needs to be there. That's being on the offense. And as long as that doesn't take away, because you're going to drop $30,000, because it's going to take 6 months for that to fully kick in, right? So you may drop $30,000 less to your pocket, 80, 4, 10, I don't care what it is. As long as you can afford that, that's you investing in your business.
And so by constantly doing that, that's how you leverage for the 24-month.
2 ways. That, and then making sure your brother, I feel like, will be okay with. But the other 2 people, you need to make sure they're going to be there. They feel good. They feel like they're a part of it. They feel like they're winning alongside with you. And by the way, it's not always money. Do you know how many times it's just recognition? You know how insane it is? Do you know, like, you know, pumped? Last night I was delayed, Tom. It was really, I was super scared because I thought I wasn't going to make my flight. They like kicked me off the plane. Luckily I got another one. I was sitting there on tarmac for a little bit. And I was like literally just sitting there and I just texted like 41 of my employees and said, hey. Do you know the 41 of them, like 19 were like, hey, thank you, like, hey, like people know you're busy, people know that you're trying to drive it, and the fact that you're thinking of them, it matters so much. Like, you know how many people in this room have never to an employee that's worked for them for more than 5 years, truly looked them dead in the eye and said, thank you, you're doing a great job? There's people in this room that have done that. I promise you, I just know the math of it. You know how much that means to people? Yeah. You know how much money I've saved by not giving people money, by being a good dude? Do you know how much it matters to somebody when I surprise them after 9 months and send them to a Cardinals baseball playoff game?
You don't give me any
recognition. Twitter, the Cardinals 400 times a day, and that cost me $1,800, but I didn't have to give him a $5,000 raise, which he would have asked for if I didn't do that. I told you I'm a bad dude. I just do good things. Everybody is too black and white. Got it? All the magic is in the gray. Talk to me about this assistant. You know how he or she rolls?
Well, so this assistant is my mother, so she'll tell you.
Oh, man.
So you definitely know how she rolls.
Right.
So look, I mean, this is great. I built both of my core businesses. My 2 biggest businesses have been built with my dad and now with my younger brother. I love family businesses, and they come with their own shit, right? But if you can get through it, and if everybody like cares about the business and the logo, it's stunning how far you can come along. And there's a lot of negatives, but boy, are there. For all the days I cried because my dad was in outer space, right? Holy cried. They're the best years of my life. Like knowing, like as I get older, I'm like, thank you God for those 15 years of every day. Like that's amazing, right? So anyway, after it gets out of your dad and mom, because that's got different dynamics. But when me and my dad started clicking was when I realized I had to feed his ego as I started getting more famous. And it was hard for me because I'm competitive with my dad and he's competitive with me, which is a fucked up situation, but it's just the way it is. But when I was able to swallow that humility and just go there, and so you've got to figure out what feeds your brother and your mom as well. Like that's just the way it is. But it sounds like you need to make a hire because if you're answering, and I like the way you answered, that there's more business to be had, but you haven't taken on the expense. I mean, my poor brother, when he got into the business, he's very, very math-driven, very CFO, P&L-driven. I was hiring so fast because I knew it was happening that I was hiring against our payroll by 30 days, which meant I was on the clock to get new business, or I couldn't make payroll in 30 days. 2 reasons. One, I was rich already, and if I had to put my own money into it, I would have done it, so it wasn't that scary. And 2, I just knew. That's what makes me a winner. I knew what was happening in the market. So way too many people hedge. The biggest way a lot of people in this room are not making money is by not investing enough in their business currently to get more of what's coming to them. You have to know when your moment to strike is. Because really the downside is, It's not fun, but you just have to fire that expense. I'm not telling you to buy a big building and sign a 15-year lease for a fancy office. I'm talking about human infrastructure. It hurts. You don't want to let somebody down. You hire them, and you have to fire them. But, you know, that's just some of the stuff I think about.
Good.
Cool.
Back to technology question, Jim Bishop in Laguna Beach, Laguna Hills area.
Awesome.
Snapchat.
Yeah.
I've got teenage boys, so I've seen them go from Facebook to Instagram, now to Snapchat. Do
Yeah.
you see that impacting the real estate market, and how?
I think the real estate market can long-term get affected by Snapchat if it continues to age up. But you're talking about 24 to 36 months, right? And you're talking about, the way you'll do it is, the product could change, but let's say it was 24 to 36 months from now, and you do it through Snapchat stories, right? You would do it through constant video, you'd hold it down, it's snackable. All it comes down to is how do people want to consume content? Go read all the articles about why the television was gonna fail. It was all the establishment not wanting to go away from the radio to the TV. And then why cable was crazy because nobody was gonna be able to consume 36 channels. 13 was plenty, right? Or people in here that literally thought the internet was gonna be a fad, right? Like these are real things. So if it evolves, but I will say this, back to me saying invest in the future, for sure, if you're lucky enough to have teenagers who are using this, just to fuck with them, you should get on Snapchat. Just on that, right? Like that would devastate a teenager. Like, Dad, I mean, by the way, the reason they're on Snapchat is because you're on Facebook. That's what happened, right?
And it goes away.
That's right. And, you know, and it goes away. So I think so, but like my intuition on that one is that one uniquely is far enough along, knowing where the starting point is for everybody here, that I'm not as crippled on like, you gotta be on Snapchat. I'm really passionate for people here to fuck around with Instagram. I'm really passionate about that. Really passionate.
And Pinterest.
Okay, I'm gonna ask the last question. We gotta be on, like, he knows. I'm gonna ask the last question. I know.
Come on, he can't.
And he's from
Let him ask.
Okay, let him out. He's actually, no, you're not. Because you're not going to lunch. So, you asked your question, JD, real fast, and I want to ask one question. I'll just give you the frame of my question, so in case it's the same. Is I want him to answer Instagram, what would you do in real estate, versus Twitter, what would you do in real estate, versus YouTube, what would you do in real estate, and Facebook, what would you do? And we do, this group, Derek, does a lot on Facebook ads to drive awareness and sell our leads and everything else. So that's the question I'm going to ask him, so go ahead.
You want to go deeper on Instagram? I want to go deeper on Instagram. Let me get a new mic.
Dude.
Okay.
Excellent. Did you guys take this?
Yeah.
Happy afternoon.
He has the job.
Okay, so as far as Instagram goes, I was somewhat of an early adopter to Instagram, so I've been watching the noise grow. So like if I'm from Smithtown, New York, so if you hashtag Smithtown, New York, you see hair color, food, sushi, car dealerships.
More than I know that the sun will come up tomorrow, I know that marketers ruin everything.
Exactly. So you're bullish on Instagram.
You're right, because it's not fully fucking ruined.
Okay.
But no, we're really in the real crux. My job in life is to see where people go away from Facebook or Twitter, or because the parents came and go to new places. Their attention's there. In the beginning, it's euphoria, right? No ads, no scum buckets, no people trying to sell supplements, right? It's good, right? And then all that shit comes, right? And then for about 18 to 24 months, especially if there's no alternative, we eat it. Got it? We eat ads everywhere. When you read the newspaper, do you really want the next page to be a full picture of a car and you have to go around it to the next thing? Right? We eat it with banner ads, email marketing, we eat all that spam to get to the shit that we have to. So we'll always do that. And the best time to market is just when it's starting to happen, right? Because when I did email marketing and had 90% open rates in 1997, you know why? Nobody else was doing it. Now 30% you're a hero, right? So that's exactly right. Everything I talk about for the rest of my career will be ruined shortly after I talk about it.
Yep.
So how do you break through the noise on Instagram?
By going in all in early, and then riding the wave and being native to it, understanding how to use hashtags to be discovered, like being a practitioner in it early on, ride it as long as you can, and then when you're not seeing the ROI or why you're there, starting to learn the other thing, while not disrespecting it. Not disrespecting direct mail or Google AdWords or Facebook, because there's still plenty going on there. It just costs more. It has less upside. It's not a home run anymore. Got it?
Got it, thank you.
Cool.
Okay, so now I want you to think, I was actually going to do this on our video, so let's just do it now.
Yeah.
So Sam, can you videotape this or no? Fuck it, we'll do it again. So Gary,
Yes.
Pinterest, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, just take those 5 as an example.
So
We live in a world
Yeah.
of DBT, always be testing.
Yep.
What should they test? It's not absolute. What should they test in each one of those?
First of all, I think it's what are you trying to accomplish? So for today, I wanted to talk about some stuff around team building and things of that nature. Why couldn't Twitter or YouTube be around recruiting agents to come and work for you? Like everything needs to be backwards. It can't be like, what are you doing on Facebook and Twitter? It needs to be, what do you most need right now? Like, what do you most need? Do you need more teammates? Do you need a new assistant because your mom freaked the fuck out? Like, what do you need? So, but I would say this. I would say,
Make it easy. Just say they want sellers. They want to find people that want to sell.
here,
Keep it easy.
I want to make sure I understand and not come off wrong here. Sellers, people to come and work for them, but then go and sell. I'm sorry.
People that want you to sell their home.
Oh, great.
I want to sell my apartment. I want to sell my house.
Facebook dark posts. Facebook dark posts, just pound your area. It's no different direct mail. Why did you put your beautiful faces on park benches in your local town, right? Because people would see them, and if they were in the market at that time in the 80s and saw that face, then they would come to you. That park bench is now your phone, and that Facebook feed, put your face there, right? Because it's efficient.
Yeah.
It costs a lot less. There's no place on earth that you can actually reach the exact person that you want, in the exact town that you want, at the lowest possible cost than Facebook. And to your point, if you go both direct mail and Facebook in combo, you pretty much probably blanket the whole area. Now, the direct mail is going to cost you, $1.37 because of production and the mailbox cost, and this one might cost you 49 cents, and you can keep A/B tests. I mean, this is why I like that, but they both work. But Facebook dark sellers is Facebook dark posts. Pound your zip codes.
They just know it as Facebook advertising.
But Facebook advertising has been around for 4 years, and Facebook dark posts have been around for 8 months. Again, I want to make sure everybody understands, this is not the ads on the right side. It's going to an admin. This is not posting on your page and then hitting boost so more people see it. This is going into the back end, page editor, picking, and when you get really good at it, and I'm glad we're sticking here because I didn't get this off and I would have been upset. What happens when you make a piece of content and you target everybody in a zip code? It's got to be general, right? I'm Karen, I sell homes, hit me up. What happens when you hit up everybody that lives in your zip codes and you also follow the people, you also target the people that follow the high school football team? Now all of a sudden you're making your video from the field of the high school football team. Now they're stopping because they care about that. Or the people that live in the town and are fans of this bar that has a famous rooster in the front and your videos from there. Are you following me? What happens when you go down the long tail and you make it more contextual, and you don't only make the content contextual, but you're making it contextual to the people that are already fans of those things, so they're in their feed. Guys, you know how you roll with your feeds, right? This is how you're going.
Exactly.
How do you stop someone? If you go general, it's harder. If you go more narrow, you can stop them. So the targeting is endless on Facebook or posts. You might be reaching 49 people that are the high school football fans and like the rooster in the bar and, follow a friend of yours, but then you know exactly what to say to those 49 people. You might convert 2 of those 49 instead of 0 of 1,090 because you went too general. Following?
Yeah.
The truth is that they just do that, but I'm with you on Instagram, but I want to acknowledge my buddy over here, Chris, I'll choose that in a row 5 years before Crush It. Right? So just before Crush It. And he went like this. Luxury real estate, boom, 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 got it. He's done a phenomenal job. Him in front of the Beverly Hills sign, like he's done it.
I'm aware.
How does every one of them take their YouTube channel to the next level?
Well, listen, he actually has talent.
True.
But that's true. Like, he's benefited through that. Like, YouTube's worked for me because I'm ridiculously fucking charismatic on film, right? Like, have you seen some of these characters? They be stiffs on camera. Meanwhile, I can't put 2 fucking sentences together. And you can, right? And so, I don't want to push everybody into YouTube when they're crippled by the notion of being in front of a video. You need to find your medium, whether that's drawing cartoons, singing songs, knock yourself out. pictures, video, the written word. So before we, like, that's very important because they'll look at us, they'll look and they'll say, oh, that's success, but then they're gonna force their ways to be good. I mean, you wanna really go laugh? Go look at all the people that have forced their way into being good on video and never could because it's a different medium. In the same way that there's nothing I can do at this point to be a great writer. It's just not how my brain works. My grammar sucks shit.
Did architects know that when they gave you a 10-book deal?
Oh, yes. I mean, I rolled in there, I was like, look, here's how the books are going to be done. All right, record. Chapter 1, crush it. I mean, I lay in my bed and like on a business trip for 4 hours and like write a book.
Yeah.
On one take without breathing. That's how I roll. And that's like amazing, yet equally, I literally am not kidding. Thank God. So the world's been very kind to me. You know how happy I am that nobody can spell anymore? Right? Like, you know this whole like LOL and X, this has been God sent to me. I mean, it takes me 4 hours to write an email because I'm putting, I literally spell everything incorrectly and just go back and fucking fix it. Like, so like, you know, it's just the way the world is.
Okay, so
Pinterest is really fascinating. I mean, for her, I mean, that's a home run. A home run. If they're, you know, if you're setting or if you're allowed to take pictures, if the homeowner is willing to let you take pictures, because a lot of people have vanity and they like the way their place looks, and you know, my dad would chop your head off. Privacy's king. I love vanity. I'm like, yeah, take a picture of my shit, right? So, you know, that's a question that you know how to tactfully ask. You got to think about content. The inside of the homes is tremendous content. You don't want to, you know, you have to know your client, right? Like, there may be even clients who shouldn't even ask that question, because you know, right? But the ones that you think potentially you could, you've got to ask them that question. People want to be on those shows, and they want that, right? There's so much great content there. I think Pinterest and Instagram content of the homes is incredible. Reviews, which can be a little more neutral, maybe they don't want you to see this, like stuff they have to leave for you. So Pinterest is going to get bigger and bigger. Pinterest has ad products coming. Where it'll look a lot more like Google, and I think a lot of people here can win. So it might be like, you know, you can go down the long tail of like a specific furniture name, and you can be the first result on Pinterest when somebody searches that with your promoted pin, and then that links out to the listing. So there's some really interesting stuff that you can do.
That's cool. All right, so closing statements on this. Yesterday we did talk about long-term perspective, and I was browsing this guy. We said stabilize your business, be in a position to be saleable in 18 months.
A position.
A position to be, like actually have a business, right? You can leave and it's okay. We talk a lot about building their team. You covered so much in that, like freaking awesome. And advertising, we know direct mail, plus your Facebook ads, plus some Twitter ads, right? Hyper local kills it, right?
Especially if the content's right.
Yes.
And when I say especially, only.
Yeah.
Right?
So,
like, when I did direct mail, the coupon was free orange juice, no purchase necessary. Hysteria, right? Like just like, you know, you got to know what works.
so knowing all that, because they're on the bench, and maybe they'll watch the Ask Gary Vee show, which I certainly recommend, and I've posted that before. And what should they do? Like, what's like just a closing thought? They're going to build their team, right? Some of them are going to resist it, they're not. Some are going to do YouTube, some are not. Just one last little piece of advice. If you never saw them again, what would you tell them?
Get real fucking honest with yourself.
All right.
Right? The quickest way to win, like, I suck at 99% of the things in the world. And the reason I'm going to win is I figured out what 4 things I was great at, and I got all in, and I stayed in that zone, and I triple down. There are people in this audience that don't map to me at all, right? And should probably take none of my advice, because it's not their behavior. It's like they're not going to be able to do it, right? It's going to be too much of a grind, and it's going to wear down and you quit. And not that you shouldn't better yourself. I don't want to go into that world, but it's very important to be honest with yourself. There's some people that really need to look at their organization and